Welcome back to the show today. We are talking about technical fouls and ejections, but mostly technical fouls, and how I personally believe they are not a cool thing to get. So what is a technical foul by definition? A technical foul is any sort of infringement that happens outside of a basketball move. So most personal fouls occur during plays on the ball. Maybe a guy gets too aggressive and makes illegal contact with another player on the other team. So there are loads of ways that a technical foul can occur. We're talking like hanging on the rim, delaying the game, too many players on the court, maybe calling a timeout when you don't have a timeout, the Chris Webber if you will. But most frequently we see it when it's conduct toward the official or taunting. And these reasons are voluntary. They are not mistakes like the reasons I mentioned before. They are choices. That's why I find it extremely disappointing when my favorite players and favorite teams get them, because they could have easily been avoided. And most of them are motivated by a player's ego and the inability to accept that sometimes refs miss calls. I talked about this in one of my videos last year. Refs aren't biased. It is way too hard for a ref to give preferential treatment to one team over another. The league has an online system and a committee that grades every game and grades every call in a basketball game. If a ref is consistently getting bad grades, he gets demoted to the G League or the Dub. After the Tim Donaguey scandal, where Donaguey was betting on games and then reffing those games, the league took a major hit in viewership and credibility. That's when this system of review was put into place. And then the league introduced reviewing calls and then being able to challenge calls, which sucks. It would be hard to find any NBA fan that likes challenging calls. It slows the game down. It makes it boring. But the league had to do this. It had to reestablish its credibility. Now, I've heard Andre Iguodala and Evan Turner talking about the refs a lot lately. They seem to believe that the refs favor teams that pull in more viewership, and this is by instruction from the league. Elton Brand allegedly said that the Sixers had to beat the Celtics by 15 in order to beat them by 1, meaning that if the game between the Sixers and the Celtics was even close, the Celtics were gonna win because of the refs, because he believes that the NBA wanted the Celtics to play LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals, not the Sixers, because they wanted better TV numbers. Of course, from a business aspect and even a legal aspect, they would have motive, but there are way too many eyes on every game, especially now when every game lives forever on NBA.com. Corruption like this is completely unfeasible. I don't even know how you would do it. Big market teams file complaints with the league about the refs just as much as small market teams. Players and coaches need to stop complaining and getting technical fouls. The sooner you accept that you are going to be a victim of bad calls, the better off you're gonna be. We all take L's in life. Sometimes you feel like you're the only one experiencing unfairness. You're not. And even if you were, you still gotta keep on pushing, man. So let's start with this technical foul that was recently assessed to Giannis during a game against the Detroit Pistons.
Adetokounmpo go to the basket on the other end, quick jam. And he taunted Isaiah Stewart, and he's going to get teed up
again
by Scott Twardowski.
And he's gone, right?
At this point in the game, Giannis already has a technical foul. He's on thin ice. If he gets one more, he's getting ejected. Then he mean mugs Beef Stew. Giannis and Isaiah Stewart have had problems since Isaiah Stewart came into the league in 2020. Giannis lost control of his emotions, and he had to let Beef Stew know he owned his ass. We all know that Giannis owns Beef Stew's ass, and he still had to let him know. You may think, well, I liked that. I thought that was cool. They should let dudes taunt after a poster. I get it. I liked it too. But the league is trying to avoid violence from happening on the court. That is not what they are trying to sell. And when you're in a hyper-competitive scenario like an NBA game, you have to nip that in the bud quick before it breaks out in fisticuffs. Hey, I like a little bit of violence just as much as the next sports fan. But it's a slippery slope. You don't want the NBA turning into some basketball version of the XFL, which may actually be a little more lucrative, but is demonstrably worse for our society. We can do better. In this particular case, the refs knew Beef Stew is a hothead. He infamously chased LeBron around the Little Caesars arena. I can only assume trying to kill him. So while I understand the stare down by Giannis, and I thought it was really cool, and I also enjoyed the subsequent sitting in a chair of defiance, it was stupid. The Bucks won anyway, so it didn't really matter. But here's the one that I thought was really cringe.
Plenty of Pacers there. Giannis dunks it.
They call it technical. Did they throw him out? Did they throw Adrian Griffin out? I know they call it technical. I don't know if they threw him out.
So this happened in the game after the Giannis ejection. And in between these two games, Adrian Griffin said that he needs to stand up for Giannis more, and I believe this was his attempt to do that. I don't think the beatdown that Giannis took on in this play was enough to get Adrian Griffin upset enough to get him ejected. Also, listen to how calmly he talks after the game about the incident.
We just had a difference of opinions of what I thought that
you know, it was really physical, and I thought Giannis was getting hit quite a bit, and, you know, I voiced my opinion, and next time I'll do it in a little bit more delicate way.
So this brings me to my main point about technical fouls in the NBA. They seem a bit performative, don't they? I think Griffin kind of wanted to ingratiate himself to Giannis a little bit. He's a new coach. I think he wanted to demonstrate, hey, I got your back, dude. Which I guess is worth something, but the Bucks did lose that game by 2. I'm sure it would have at least helped them somewhat to have their head coach on the court. Would it have been 3 points more helpful? I don't know. Now, to reinforce my point about technical fouls being a performance,
finding Edwards, driving. Oh, get out the way!
Alright, so Anthony Edwards says something to Dario Saric. Dario Saric happened to be the guy he dunked on. Not exactly a guy that's known for his trash talking. This was a sick dunk, and Ant couldn't resist doing a tough guy celebration. A little performance, if you will. But there is no way that that behavior was not detrimental to his team. He got the dunk. It was awesome. He didn't have to flex on him, but he did, and it resulted in a free throw for Steph Curry that he's obviously going to make. I like the pageantry of it. I like taunting. It's fun to watch. But it does cost you fouls and awards free throws for the other team. I also think guys like getting techs because it's a flex. You can say, hey, I don't really care about the fine. Give me a tech. I'm rich. What's a couple $1,000s to me? I'll do what I want when I catch a body. The last example I want to talk about is what happened this week with Draymond Green. In the same matchup as the previous incident. At the very beginning of the game, Jaden McDaniels and Clay get into it. Clay starts it. We got video proof. Clay. But that's not what I want to talk about. I don't really care about that. Guys getting beefs, whatever. I want to talk about Draymond. Rudy Gobert goes over to break up the fight. Even if Draymond believes that Rudy Gobert is going over to get into the fight and make it worse, he has no reason to come up and choke him from behind. It's complete WWE heel bullshit, man. If he did it to Jaden McDaniels, I would understand. I wouldn't even really care, but he comes up behind a random player and starts choking it. Draymond is ejected and there's almost the entirety of the game left to play, and the Warriors end up losing. Now Draymond is suspended for 5 games. This is a huge loss for the Warriors, and it's because of what I'm going to call a performance. I think Draymond is getting to the point where he's losing sight of the game to ensure that he's on brand. So as much as I think technical fouls are good for the league because they keep players' emotions in check by penalizing them before it gets to an altercation, but I'm very disappointed in the players that get them. They're dumb. I believe they're putting their team in a worse position to draw more attention to themselves. Alright, I have an old video about technical fouls where I talk about technical fouls in like a more broader way if you're interested in that. So like the video if you enjoyed it. Eat a corn dog, be good to your mom.